Welcome back. We're now joined by Sophie Haikali, an accomplished producer, researcher and content creator who will be moderating the upcoming panel discussion titled The First Chapter, facilitated by the Playbuddies Trust. Now, this important conversation brings together educators, creatives and thought leaders to explore early childhood development literacy and the power of local storytelling in Namibia. As someone deeply invested in shaping narratives and amplifying impact through the media, Sophie brings a unique lens to this timely dialogue. She now joins us to talk about the significance of this panel and why storytelling matters and how we can collectively transform the first chapter of a child's life in Namibia. Sophie, good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. To start with, Sophie, can you share just a little bit and give us some background on the Playbuddies Trust?
Yeah, so basically, I think it was just mothers coming together, but not only mothers, but also mothers, storytellers, and then women that are working in early childhood development. And we all kind of identified that it was difficult for us to find local content. So not only stories, but also in different local languages, and whether that was now films but particularly also books that you can read. And if you want your children to engage in like learning maybe something about local cultures and local languages. And out of that, we came together and thought, you know, we should not just complain about it, we should also do something about it. And that's really how Playbuddies Trust was born, is our contribution to that.
Fantastic. Sophie, why do you believe that, you know, local storytelling is such a critical tool in improving early literacy in Namibia?
I think there's something if you recognize yourself and if you sort of like see yourself.
Yes.
And I think this is also, it's really important. Representation, it actually matters. And if it's a little bit emotional for children, then I think it sticks better. Like whatever they are learning, if they feel, oh, this could be me, then sort of like the possibilities of what they conceive as being possible, like it expands. So that it's really important to have like relevant content for children, that they kind of like recognize the context and find it exciting and can see themselves in the stories.
The stats in Namibia have shown that many Namibian children reach the age of 10 without being able to read for meaning. And I think earlier also you were already here when we heard about the End Learning Poverty campaign that's officially been launched, and you know, it addresses exactly, you know, this issue. What do you see as the root cause of this literacy crisis?
I think there are multifaceted reasons for that, and I'm not an early childhood development expert, but I think one of the reasons is, of course, while it's really beautiful that everybody very often speaks 2-3 languages, we start learning to read in sometimes our second or third language. So that is already, that's a challenge. And then, of course, it's access to material and to books. People, you know, there's other priorities. And then I think it's also that access to early childhood development programs is an issue, that we start really young, that kids are excited about learning and about being curious. And I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
And do you think that parents understand how important it is, you know, to involve their children in ECD?
I think yes and no. I think there's of course, I think we all like understand, and for instance, something like you would like to read out loud to your children every night, but then you come home and you're tired, then it doesn't happen. So I think we need to think of like what are some of the practical solutions that we can develop also to assist our tired parents and overwhelmed teachers, and like step in where access is an issue.
You're going to be moderating this panel titled The First Chapter. What message do you hope, you know, resonates with the attendees?
Well, I'm hoping, because normally these discussions, we have people from very different backgrounds that come together and also from different fields, that everybody sort of like walks away wondering, what is it that I can add to this, that I can contribute to change that, to rewrite that, story, so that we can have better, more access, that we can support like this ecosystem of like who creates, is it cheap enough, are books accessible, and like how can we create different formats so that it becomes more accessible, and how can policymakers but also businesses, so not only creatives and creators, but everybody, what can we do to contribute to this?
That's a wonderful point that you raised, because I have a toddler and kiddies books are so expensive.
Exactly.
$300 for a book. Now think about the mama who doesn't have, you know, the resources to be able to do that. And one of the ways that we can contribute is by reading to our children, as you mentioned. But if you don't have access to do that, you know, it leaves you in sort of a deficit.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So I think there's like thoughts about access, and then it's the different content, and then it's like how can we distribute differently, and then it's like what can we do, because I mean, if you do have a lot of books and your children are not reading them anymore, where can you give them to? So I think there's like a lot of aspects, and you are absolutely right. And I think, like, you know, like I said, it's one thing, it's like the pricing of the books. Books are very expensive. Then it's like, what is the content? Like, is it relevant? Like, you know, it's like, it's nice to read about snow, but it would also be nice to
read about the dunes.
Exactly, to read about the dunes. And it would also be nice to have even if that's not your language, to maybe read in different local languages, like like how to, you know, pronounce it. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities also, because there's a lot of gaps. So I think it's really about how we can come together in our different capacities and what can we do. Fantastic. And I think that's what we are hoping to talk about at that panel, and I would invite you to come.
Oh, thank you so much. I also just want to know, tell us a little bit about the panelists and of course the logistics, where it's going to be taking place and when and so forth.
Yes, so the panel is taking place at the Creative Industry Institute, which is right behind Windhoek High School and across from the NGR East Church. And it's a panel for the 29ers, which is really like a group of people that come together and are talking about the opportunities and challenges in Namibia, and seeing that if you have different people in the room that are not only the people that you always talk to, you often come up with very interesting discussions and maybe also very interesting solutions. So that is really like, how can people from different sectors come together and deal with a topic that affects us all right now, maybe because you are a parent, but also because this will be your workforce, or so we are all affected one way or another. So it's a really important topic to come to. So I hope that, yes.
And the panelists?
And the panelists, we're having Jessica, who's working for the development workshop Namibia in early childhood development. And then we have Hilma Weber, who's a local author, who's also going to present some of her books. And then we have Sophie Haikali, who is a film director and also a creative entrepreneur. And so talking about content and how it's important to have also culturally relevant content, and like also like a 360. And we hope that we also going to have policymakers in the room and educators in the room, but also business owners and financiers, and because it's all part of this ecosystem.
100%.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, a very timeless and relevant discussion indeed to be held. Sophie, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. On that note, this evening,